Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Red Menace TV here on ProView Networks. Leroy Lucero along with Mike Carlisle. Mike, how you doing this fine, beautiful day?
Check it out. My hand's in there. What's
hey,
up?
there's your hand.
Oh,
all right.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I mean, yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, Lobo basketball season's over. I know the NCAA tournament's going on, and that's exciting, except it's the same old teams once again. Isn't it pretty much all the favorites have won?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that gets kind of monotonous. What do you? Well, you love one of the favorites, right?
Well, no,
just to clarify this, who is your favorite team?
Duke.
Okay.
Yep, I grew up a Duke fan.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, that's where you're from, that's your area, whatever. But I mean, it's kind of like, well, I guess now being a Patriots fan, if you're a Patriots fan, it's like, another championship, all right, whatever. But I mean, for the underdog role, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, all right, great, Duke's gonna win again.
But that's pretty much the way it is every year.
Right, that's why I'm saying it gets kind of monotonous and boring. I'd like to see some turnaround or something, some changes.
Like what? What changes would you like to see in the NCAA tournament?
I mean, I'd just like to see some of the other teams kind of get involved, get the rest of the nation kind of excited.
How is that Duke
I don't know.
or North Carolina or Kentucky's
No, you're
fault?
right.
Yeah.
I'm not. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as a nominal sports, I don't know if that's the right word. As a guy that doesn't really follow the national NCAA football or basketball, it's just kind of boring. I think.
Well, maybe that's on you. You're too close-minded.
Right.
You stay in your little bubble.
Yeah, you're probably right. I do. I stay in my little bubble. I mean, but even like the NFL, well, I don't know. The NFL's fun because everyone kind of has an opportunity. I mean, The Browns did trade for.
Spoken like a clueless Cowboy fan.
Well, I mean, come on. It's
Legitimately believes you've got a chance.
23 years since they've been to the Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl, so it's been a while. But I'm just saying, you know, I mean, do you kind of understand? I mean, put yourself in like my shoes. Like if you were.
No, well, what I think, and there's nothing wrong with this. Let me make it, but what I think is you like what. It's not the sports per se; it's the teams you like, and that's what you find. And again, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think what it is, I mean, everyone loves, I grew up as a kid, I mean, it's like.
We all did.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I grew up as a kid, like, thinking of, like, the Cinderella story, the underdog. Everyone loved the underdog, everyone, and it's just like, when was the last time an underdog in the NCAA tournament, really? I guess Gonzaga could kind of be termed that, or coined that. I mean, that'd be the
But probably
closest.
not at this point, because they've been to like 22 straight NCAA tournaments. So even though they're not from a quote-unquote power conference, they're really not an underdog either.
They're in that rare air.
That's the myth of the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
There are no real underdogs. Now, you'll have your Loyolas that'll make a nice run.
Sure.
The closest thing to a legit underdog was Butler with back-to-back Final Fours. You know, even the teams we look back now and think of as underdogs, Villanova beating Georgetown. Hell, Villanova was in the Big East.
Yeah.
Perhaps the greatest, and it happened right here in Albuquerque, North Carolina State beating Houston for the national title, ACC's team. Now, they don't get in the tournament if they don't win the ACC tournament, but how much of an underdog is a team from a power conference?
Yeah.
So when you say underdogs, are you talking the Loyolas of the world?
Sure.
Or are you talking about if
UTEP
right, or something like that? Or are you talking about a middle of the pack, you know, Big Ten team or ACC team?
No, you're. I mean, I see you totally feel exactly what I'm thinking, and it's just like sometimes it's just neat to have like those names that you don't necessarily hear on a regular. Like Liberty, they won a game, and granted, it was just one game, but it was exciting for that little bit of time.
Even this year, Oregon was a 12 seed. They're still in the Sweet 16. They don't make the tournament if they don't win the Pac-12 tournament.
Exactly.
But is Oregon really? I mean, for the purposes of the 16 teams remaining, sure, that they'd be an underdog. But are they what you think of when you think about the NCAA tournament and Cinderella stories and underdogs?
Yeah, no.
Probably
no,
not.
No. I mean, they got the Nike money, right?
Sure.
I mean, Nike just took out Michael Avenatti, a presidential candidate. So
sure.
I mean, they could win I don't know. I guess that's just my thing with the NCAA tournament. Kind of like the bowl games, too, a little bit. Like, you know that it's going to be the power conferences in the Final Four or everything else. I mean, I do like the New Mexico Bowl. It's not the Gildan New Mexico Bowl anymore. And some of these other ones. But, I mean, you realize that those are just, okay, we're going to play. We're having one extra game at the end of the season. If your team's there, great, you're excited. If they're not, you probably don't really watch the Arizona Bowl or the Cactus Bowl or the...
Well, if your team's in it, you do.
Right, but I'm just saying if they're not, you just know that they're not going to be there.
Maybe hear me out on this.
Okay.
Maybe the problem isn't the NCAA tournament or the bowl systems or anything. Maybe the problem is you and the teams you root for.
No, well, there's no doubt about that. And I did want to kind of segue out and into this. Spring practice started for the
football
team.
One of the last
Monday.
teams in the country to start spring practice.
Yeah. And I can say in my, I'm trying to think how old I was when I first started really thinking about Lobo football. Probably 40 years, 30 years since I've covered it. This is probably the first time ever in my entire life where I'm like, there's no chance. I don't feel any pep. I don't feel any excitement.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying, and you're right. Unfortunately, right now, there's not a lot of excitement around Lobo football. You're 100% right on that. But when the NFL season starts, you believe the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl,
Of course, absolutely. Spring training, you went to
baseball. Yeah, and I went to spring training.
Even when you were a Cubs fan before they won, every spring training, you're like, this is our year. We're going to do it.
Exactly. Why don't you feel that way about Lobo football?
I just don't see anything. I mean, you know why. I mean, we've talked about it.
Right, but the
There's
flip
just
side,
no excitement.
Sure, but the flip side, the Cowboys are going to be 8-8 this year. They're always
Possibly.
8-8. So,
Possibly.
but yeah, you've had that excitement, and if you were a baseball fan,
Sure.
you'd have that feeling about whatever your team was, even if you were a Mariners fan or a Baltimore Orioles fan.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally get it. I mean, beginning of the season is like the greatest time if you're a sports fan, because you're like, you know what? Even though maybe I don't know the players or maybe this, but you always have that like what is it? Hope springs eternal in spring. Isn't that the old saying? And, and same thing in training camp. For the first time ever in my life, being a sports fan, being a Lobo football fan, which I consider myself one of the bigger Lobo football fans in this state, because let's face it, there's not a lot. I just don't have any kind of there's no hope, there's no springs eternal. We mentioned the comment, and I can't verbatim say it. What was it? We don't have any momentum. What was it, Bob Davies?
Oh, look, I get what he's not wrong in what he said.
Right, but why would you say that?
Well, the point I think he was trying to, and this isn't the exact quote, the gist of it was, we don't have any momentum, our backs are against the wall, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The point he was trying to make, and maybe he could have said it a little better, is we're like a caged animal. You got our backs against the wall. We got to fight. We got to scrap to
it just didn't come out right?
For some people, it did not. No.
Well, for me, it did not come out right. I mean, I saw the
wrong?
quote. Was he wrong? It don't matter if you're wrong. You could at least, I'm not saying that you should say, hey, we're ready to go. We're going to take that big step up to first place and look for us in the bowl game.
Would you have rather said, hey, we're going to go out and win the Mountain West this year? I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my gut.
Well, you don't want to, you have to be realistic, because, we saw that with Paul Weir at the beginning of last basketball season, where and we talked about this last week with Grammer. We talked about maybe he played into the expectations a little too much.
Maybe.
You don't want to go that far, but you also don't want to go, hey, we suck, bro. And I know he wasn't trying to say that, but it's the way it came out.
But that's not what he said.
I know it's not the exact word.
He's right. Look, they're coming off 3-9 seasons. They don't have any momentum. Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're coming off back-to-back 3-9 seasons. They don't have any momentum.
Where they look bad the entire time.
Their backs are kind of against the wall. But
his back's against the you think he'll be here next year no matter what? Another 3-9, he'll survive?
Bulletproof Bob.
Teflon Bob.
Right, but at least right now, and this may change later in the spring, it may change early in the season, but your quarterbacks are healthy. You've got a new offensive coordinator. You've got a defensive coordinator. What was one of the things you were talking about last year? Oh, the defense is terrible. We got to do something. Well, they got a new defensive coordinator.
Said the offense was terrible, too.
Well, sure. Well, they got a new offensive coordinator.
Special teams was kind of good.
Yeah.
Kind of.
They got a lot of work
punt
in.
Returner left.
Well, yeah. They got a lot of work in on special teams. But, it's if ever you were going to have any hope, and look, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, yeah, you should buy in because they're going to win 10 games this year. But if there were ever a time to have any semblance of hope, now's the time to have it.
Are you going to the we can't suck any worse?
No, I'm going with the, hey, it's spring practice. We're all 0-0. We're going to find out about this team. Learn about these players, see exactly what we've got.
They should have put you up in front of the mic.
Maybe.
You would have done a better job. You're a good hype man.
No, I'm also not trying to be unrealistic either.
Okay, so part of it is, and you remember when I started the Red Menace years ago, part of that was to sell tickets, get people excited, and it was pretty successful at the beginning. People were excited and everything else. It slowed down, obviously, through the years to the point now. So I totally get what it's like to try to sell tickets and to get people involved in sports and get people involved in Lobo football. I don't see that involvement from a lot, and you're right. Part of it is just me.
Well, no,
but
I think you're right on that.
You're on the phones every day, doing the show and on the Sports Animal. How many people are calling and talking about Lobo football at all, even during the season?
None.
And then you look across the street right now, and you and I kind of laughed about this earlier, but the
soccer team,
the United, their season goes into October. And then if they continue, if they make it to the playoffs, which pretty much everyone does, if I'm not mistaken, pretty close, that will extend it out. There's going to be some games that are going to be right there. Do we see, because they're really pulling in some people, they really are. And if they do make it to the playoffs, Albuquerque they're a bandwagon town. We love to bandwagon. And I think right now they're like the #1 attendance in the first couple of weeks. Could we see the United outdraw Lobo football next season? In the months of, well, I don't know when the first game is. Is it September or October?
For the Lobos?
Yeah.
September.
September, okay. So you figure September, October, I don't know how long that soccer league's playoffs last, but if let's say they actually do well. I mean, they're doing okay right now. 2-1 and 2-0-2, I believe, is their record. If they're in there and they're moving forward and they're doing well, Albuquerque being Albuquerque, you've got the United in the playoffs and you've got the Lobos, 1-3 in their preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you see there?
Yeah, and here's what you've got to remember, though.
Yeah.
And don't take this the wrong way, because in no way am I trying to disrespect the United. I'm not.
Right. No. Yeah.
They've
totally
done a phenomenal job getting the community interested in their product early. They're the new shiny toy you got on Christmas. You know, you had your favorite toy on December 23rd, and you played with it December 24th. But when you woke up on December 25th, you kind of threw that toy to the wayside and started playing with the new one. They're the new shiny toy right now. How long will that last? Maybe it lasts 4 games. Maybe it lasts 40 years.
If you win, you're going to people will come.
Exactly. But they're still the new shiny toy. They're your new car. You're tired of the Gremlin. Now you've got a hyped up,
Honda
sports car.
Civic.
Sure, whatever. So that plays into that as well. But yeah, certainly they've done a good job. To your point, you're right. There's not a lot of interest right now in Lobo football, and I do think that's a cause for concern. Look, if you like Lobo athletics and you support Lobo athletics, go to football games. You go to softball games. My guess is the people who go to softball games aren't necessarily diehard softball fans. They're Lobo fans, and they're you go to baseball games. Maybe you like baseball. Maybe you want to see them do well,
Sure.
but you're also doing it to support the program. For whatever reason, and look, I get it, the team hasn't been good the last couple of years. There's some bitterness towards Coach Davey, but people don't look at football the same way they do some of those other sports.
Part of it, and you did mention marketing. I mean, what is the marketing for Lobo football at this point? I mean, how do you market that? I mean, what do you market? And we talked about this last year when they decided to keep Bob Davey after the what you might call it, the investigations and everything. And we can talk about this afterwards because we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to go with Micah and then we'll come back. But just something to think about. How do you market this program? I mean, Bob Davey was supposed to be out in the public talking to people. 2 things. First of all, I haven't seen where he's out in the public talking to people. Second of all, if he goes out and talks to people, does anybody want to hear it? There's just, I just don't know what the excitement level is on either side.
Yeah, and real quick on that, Davey touched on that at his press conference on Friday. When's the right time to do those things? Remember what Lobo
I would say now.
Well, right, but remember what Lobo Athletics has spent the last 4 months dealing with. Cutting sports, arguing with the legislature that wanted to force them to keep sports, and you're trying to save money. Look, you're right. He hasn't really been out the way we thought he might have been out, but when everything dealing with the athletic department is either a disappointing basketball season or budget cuts and we're cutting these sports. No, we want you to keep those sports. No, we're cutting them. When's the right time to go out and try to market Lobo athletics and more specifically Lobo football? I think they've been in a bit of a tough spot with that. But you're right. At some point, you've got to start trying to generate some sort of interest in football for the upcoming season.
Well, I don't want to give it all away, but I'll just leave with this before we take a quick break. There's 360 plus days in the year, including leap year.
365.
Yeah. All right. I think you need to do this every day. We live in a world now where you don't have to wait for a television camera. There's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's all these things. You could do all kinds of stuff just to keep your name out there, keep your name fresh. We mentioned the United. Since they were mentioned, they've kept that thing fresh.
They have.
They've kept their name, their shield, everything out there fresh. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with Micah and CageMinds.com, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss some more of this.
Set him in motion. Donovan has some time into the end zone. It's a touchdown.
Sees the first pitch and takes it out to her own position and takes it out of the park.
Motion. Puerto Rico calls for the snap. He's going to float it to Washington, and D brings in another one. Touchdown, D. Washington. Out of the gun, Puerto Rico looking deep to Davis again. Motion. Puerto Rico's got all day. He's going to float it to Cedric. Cedric's going to bring it in. Touchdown, Cedric Johnson.
Third. And that one's driven to center field. Out of here! Another home run for Rio Rancho.
Puerto Rico going deep to Washington. Touchdown! Welcome to Albuquerque, D. Washington. Just fine.
Third. And that one drilled out to the gap. And over and out. There's another home run for the Rams. It's going to bring home 3.
There's a swing. Out! Called out. Woo! That was a delayed call. So, the Cleveland Storm wins the Metro Area Championship. To receive this one, and we're underway. Dello across from us here, right in front of us. He makes everyone miss. No one's gonna catch him.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart. Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
At Gala Chevrolet, our master technicians service every make and model no matter where you purchase your vehicle. But that's not all. We also provide certified service on every GM model. So if your car's been acting a little funny lately or something just doesn't seem right, don't wait. Bring it in to the most modern service facility in the entire state and let us make sure that you're driving a vehicle you and your family can depend on. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Welcome to the place where we talk about people getting punched in the face. This is Caged Minds. I'm Micah Frankel, and locally here, it's the beginning of what's going to be a tremendous month of action. It's fight week. We got Expo Explosion 3, a lot to talk about. But let's take a step back real quick and look at the highlights from last weekend. A great bunch of MMA events. We start off with LFA 62. Ramir Brahima gets back in the win column, getting the takedown, finding the head and arm choke, getting the submission victory. In the co-main event, Levi Mouse is able to wrestle Ahmet Kairili to the ground and secure the rear naked choke submission. Then we go to the main event. It only lasted 90 seconds. Casey Kenny with a knee puts Vince Cachera's lights out. Kenny making history, becoming the first two-division LFA champion. Bellator was in action, Bellator 218. In the co-main event, Valentin Madovsky is able to get the grappling advantage and just make Lennon Vassell's night worse and worse and worse, out wrestling for a decision victory. And in the main event, it was a back and forth affair with Emmanuel Sanchez, Georgi Kadahanian, tit for tat, but in little positions. It was a more active Emmanuel Sanchez, striking from awkward positions and just never relenting, in all taking the unanimous decision victory. The UFC was in Nashville. We had Anthony Showtime Pettis, Stephen Thompson in the main event. Albuquerque's Jordan Espinosa makes a successful octagon debut, winning a decision over Eric Shelton, never allowing Shelton to get into the brawl that he wanted. Randa Marcos takes down Angela Hill and quickly grabbed the arm for the armbar finish. You had Frankie Saenz running in to the Marlon Vera jab. Vera would follow to the ground. A couple strikes would finish the fight off. Macy Barber, the future champion, that's her moniker, continuing. She was tested, but landing to the temple, was able to stop J.J. Aldrich with a plethora of strikes. Curtis Blades returns to the win column in the co-main event, out wrestling Justin Willis for a decision victory. And then we go up to the main event. Wonder Boy had a great first round and 4 minutes, but in the last seconds of the second round, a Superman punch is the knockout. Anthony Showtime Pettis with another one for the highlight reel. So that was a great weekend of action, a great group of highlights. Got another slideshow coming up for you guys for us to talk about nationally what's going on this weekend, because we got the action starting tonight. So let's go. Warrior Way Wednesday, our guest last week, Chris Brown, his big opportunity on UFC Fight Pass, that is tonight from Detroit. Also on UFC Fight Pass, you have Alaska FC 146 MMA action there in the frozen north. You have boxing from Roy Jones Jr. on UFC Fight Pass come Thursday night, a big fight. More action on Fight Pass, CES 55 welterweight title fight Friday night. Bellator with Saeed Awad versus Brandon Gertz, and the return of Daniel Strauss versus Shane Christian. That is also Friday night, Paramount and DAZN. Access TV has LFA 63, Derek D. Rock Krantz, Justin Patterson main event. That is Friday night. Going over to Saturday on DAZN, a triple header of boxing championships from Liverpool. You have more boxing in Philadelphia. WBC light heavyweight title is on the line in local action, closing it all out with a big weekend of action nationally. The UFC is in Philadelphia on ESPN for the second time. Albuquerque fighters Michelle Watterson and Ray Borg are both on the card. Spectacular main event. That's going to be a brawl with Edson Barbosa and Justin Gaethje. Not to mention also Iron Boy MMA 14 in Arizona. Fit NHB's Evan DeLong taking on UFC vet Roman Salazar. Then we go to our local action. Don't forget, this weekend, as we said it, Expo Explosion 3. I think it's a triple main event when you look at the fights that are going to be on this card. Looking at Sanchez versus Gomez. Looking at Josh Pitbull Torres in the main event, and not to mention the long-awaited fight between Papitas and Willie. Following weekend, Holmes Boxing coming down from Buffalo Thunder to the Embassy Suites. Fidel Maldonado Jr. in the main event. The following weekend, It's been a long time since we've had a sanctioned amateur kickboxing event, but NG Enterprises is bringing that to Fit United on the 13th. And we close out 4 weeks of continual action here locally with Lion Fights. I can't remember the last time we had, or the first time we had, a professional Muay Thai event. You can see that on CBS SN Live as it happens, April 20th from the Route 66 Casino. 3 title fights and all on that card. And now for this week, as we said, it's fight week. We got Explosion 3, which you can obviously see right here on ProView Networks on Saturday night. And we got to talk to the main event. Welcome in right now, Josh Pitbull Torres.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Back in the main event, Expo Explosion, we call it Pitbull Explosion. You've been in all these events. What's your thoughts on a well-rounded, well-versed, heavy-hitting opponent that you're going to be facing Saturday night?
I'm excited. I'm excited to challenge myself to go in against a tough opponent like the one I'm going up against. He's definitely a veteran, but we've trained hard, we've prepared, and we're excited to go out there and be part of such a great show.
Where do you go from the quick knockout the last time we saw you at Expo Explosion? I mean, a short notice opponent who misses weight, has a at least 8-pound advantage on the scale, probably more come fight night, and I think that was the quickest fight I've ever seen out of you.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my quickest knockouts as a professional, and we just plan on riding that momentum into this next fight, carrying that aggressive power into this fight and being successful that way.
We know there's always work to do, but what have been some of the focuses on improvement for you?
Probably some of my inside fighting. We know that this guy's going to come in, he's going to want to bang. Has a Mexican style, power puncher, so we're definitely going to mix it up on the inside, use our strength, our youth, and our explosiveness to come out with the victory.
Again, last time, a short notice replacement. When you have a guy who fell out at the last moment, and for a fight that we were all really excited for, how much of a devastation or a hindrance was that to you a little bit mentally? Oh, it fell out.
It was a bummer, but thankfully Legacy Promotions had some people for plan B just in case. And honestly, when I'm training and I'm in that moment, I don't really even think about who I'm fighting. I'm just preparing myself to get in there and to do what I do best. So it didn't really matter who they put in front of me. I'm still going to go in there like a freight train to take care of business.
Francisco this time, a 28-9 record. A notable opponent that, as we were looking at his record before we did this interview, he's fought tons of guys with only one L, notable names. What does this mean to you to be getting an opponent of this caliber here locally?
It means a lot. It means that I'm in the right direction. I want to keep moving forward, keep building my resume, fighting tough fighters like this, and not just winning, but winning impressively.
And has that been a little bit of a change? I mean, I think you talked about it a couple interviews ago with me. You wanted to show a mean streak and kind of have that lead to some finishes. How have you been able to translate that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going on 4 straight knockout wins. Hopefully this will be my 5th. So yeah, I plan on riding that momentum like I said earlier. I want to keep taking care of business, keep making noise. That way these big promoters, the top ranks, the Golden Boys, the DAZNs, they'll take notice and eventually they're going to have to give me a shot.
If you could touch on a little, what was it technically or some adjustments that you made that have led to these finishes? What was it that changed? Either was it mentally or was it tactically?
I think it was more mentally. I think I was in a position a few years back where I took a couple L's back to back. I think I got a little bit comfortable with myself, maybe even a little bored. I don't know. I was being trained in different styles and being pulled different ways. A lot of people wanted me to box, and that's good for you. Good defense is always great, but it just wasn't me inside. And ever since I found out what I'm best at, being aggressive, being powerful, coming in and making a fight, I've always been a great fighter since I was young. I wasn't always a boxer, but I've always been a fighter, and I think that's who I am, and I think that's what's made me into the fighter that I am now. So I think with these 4 KOs in a row, I think I have, to keep showing that that aggressive style is going to fit me best.
There was a point where I think you reached a peak with being a tactician, or started to. It was in the Ronnie Ganoy fight where we really saw you turning him around in circles. And then did you feel you got a little, I don't know, too obsessed with that style and lost what had been effective previously?
I might have, and then that's where I've changed the style, and now I use a little bit of both. I'm still using my angles, I'm still using my defense, but now I'm being more aggressive, taking the fight to my opponent, and I think it's suited me well. I think one of the first times I realized this is when I went to camp with Danny Garcia to help him get ready for Brandon Rios, and I realized how successful I can be applying that pressure and being the aggressive fighter. So since then, I've used that to my advantage, and I plan on moving forward doing the same thing.
And of course, when you got back, we had to ask you what that was like. So I got to ask you, what was it like going out to Vegas and training with you guys? I know you got a weekend in out there.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there's nothing like world-class sparring. And though we have a lot of it here, it's also nice to go out of state and to just get different looks. He's definitely a real technical defensive fighter, real tight, real hard to land punches on. So it was a good test to show where I'm at and to show that I belong at that next level.
How are you able to show that willingness to embrace new styles, to take on those challenges in training, or even bring in different coaches and work with different people that I've seen, and have that willingness to alter your style? Because I know some people, when they're doing certain things for so long, there's a resistance to trying something new.
Well, you always have to be open-minded. And I think that's what suits me best, is I've always been willing to learn, even if I have to take a couple steps back and maybe even get in the ring with someone with maybe less experience with me. I always say all work is good work, and I feel like it's benefited me so far.
And specifically on this camp, could you tell us about who you've been bringing in, who you've been sparring with?
Yeah, one of them is when we went out to Vegas to work with Ugas, of course. I've been sparring with Christian Castillo, who's also on the card, Willie Villanueva, who will be in the co-main event. So I've had great work. Lorenzo, who's also on the card. I mean, these are tough guys that are right there in the mix with me, and I feel like they'll be future main event stars, so it's just exciting to be part of it.
And also, could you touch on what you've been doing, helping bring up this youth, and really not just worrying about yourself in boxing, but helping bring up Max Moya, bringing in some of these younger guys, and also helping them, because them getting a look like you, a high level, is obviously beneficial.
Absolutely. I'm all about that next generation of stars, paving the way, and hopefully, just inspiring people to just be the best that they can be.
It's a big event. You've taken the forefront for legacy boxing, and you've really taken the forefront here in the state. Could you have imagined where this path is taking you, where boxing, with what you've done here and the positivity you've put out?
It's really surreal to think that I've made it this far. Like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't born into the sport, never really had boxers in my family. I just always loved to fight. And to think that I've come this far, going from fighting on the ditch banks and getting in trouble in school to headlining these professional events and inspiring these kids the way I do. I was just on a field trip yesterday with my son, and a group of little kids came up to us at the museum, the dinosaur museum.
Okay, Natural History
Museum.
Museum.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one I was looking for. And the kids came up to me and they're like, "Hey, Pitbull, what's going on?" It's just this group of kids just randomly came up to me. It's just inspiring to know that all the hard work I've put in is paying off. And I'm just very blessed to be in the position that I'm in.
And what's your message for those kids that might be in that position that you were in back in those high school days?
Just to believe in yourself, believe in something greater than what you might even have planned for yourself, and don't quit. I was in a position many years ago where I almost hung up the gloves. I didn't even want to fight no more. I was already bored. I was making great money outside of the ring, and I said, why even do this? And man, if I would have quit back then, look at all the stuff that I would have missed out on. So for someone out there listening, there's great opportunities out there for you if you just keep believing in yourself and working hard.
What is it that's allowed you to remain confident in boxing and that you are following the right path? I know this can be a tumultuous, hard journey.
Oh, I have to give all glory to God. He's the one that's giving me the strength, giving me my gifts and my talents, and I'm just a vessel, and I'm just trying to do His ways.
Expo Explosion 3. Be there live and join us at the Manuel Lujan Complex at the Expo New Mexico ground Saturday night, or watch it right here on ProView Networks. Josh Bilbo Torres in the main event. Javier Francisco is the opponent. I mean, this guy is tough as nails. You got a great co-main event that we've been waiting for with Willie fighting Matthew, and not to mention Jose Luis versus Joe Gomez. Angel Baby is on the card. And Rico Urquizo versus Lorenzo Benavides, I think, could steal the Fight of the Night award. So can't wait to see you guys all out there this weekend, and we'll have more Red Menace TV in just a moment.
supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car crafters, it's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Hey, welcome back to Red Menace TV. I'm a little bit shocked. The big news of the UFC or MMA world, and Micah didn't even mention it.
What big news is that?
Didn't Conor McGregor retire?
All right, first of all, that wasn't even the biggest Conor McGregor news in the last 24 hours.
Dang it.
And second of all, yeah, he announced his retirement. You know what? It's not the first time he's done that, and there's a good chance it won't be the last.
Is that like a Marvin Hagler move from way back in the day?
No.
Or Sugar Ray Leonard?
No, it's you're not
GSP.
offering me what I want for my next fight, so I'm going to take my ball and go home.
No.
Yeah, he's not
Take
retiring.
his fist and go home, right?
Yeah, he's not retiring.
He's not retiring?
No.
You sure? So Micah's okay, he was safe not to mention it?
Yeah, he knows.
He knows what's up?
Exactly.
Okay. I believe you.
Yeah, he's not retiring.
I'm just asking. I just saw that and I thought, I wonder if Micah's going to talk about that on this week's show. And then turns out he didn't.
No.
Great interview with Josh Pitbull Torres.
Yeah.
who's really become a name here in Albuquerque in
For
the
sure.
area, right?
Mhm.
I think so.
Yep.
Anyway, don't forget, we always have Mike on. And in fact, next week I'm taking the week off. I'll be in Las Vegas. I'm pulling a Mike Carlisle.
Oh, you're going to Vegas?
Yeah, usually Mike goes to Vegas, but I'm not going. I'm not going to a fight.
Well,
though.
I was going to say, what big sporting event are you going to in Vegas?
There isn't one.
No?
Well, I mean, I'll go to some event out there. I mean, there's always something going on in Las Vegas. Maybe I'll go watch and see if they actually hire a basketball coach out there.
They may have one by then.
Really?
Yeah.
If you hire somebody that nobody knows about, does it really matter?
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, and who am I? I mean, I'm not an AD or anything, but you have to wonder. I mean, Menzies seems like a decent enough guy. They were winning. I mean, not UNLV standards when Jerry Tarkanian was there.
Sure.
But I mean, they were getting better. I think every year they won more games.
Mm-hmm.
Talent-wise, they was getting better. Why would you fire a guy like Marvin Menzies? Granted, attendance was not good, but whoever they get to replace Menzies, is he going to be a big step up from Marvin Menzies?
Judging by the names that have been associated with that job, no. When he was let go, everybody was like, "Oh, Alford, Patino."
Right.
All these great names. It appears the front runner is the guy from North Dakota State, whose team was in the tournament this year. But yeah, if you're talking about
does that inspire Joe?
If you're talking about inspiring the fan base and getting the fan base excited, probably not.
I mean, okay, so let's go back here in New Mexico. Paul Weir's named head coach by Paul Krebs on the way out. Did it inspire? No, it didn't. The only reason, but there was a reason they had to fire Craig Neal. Everyone was leaving. They weren't winning. There was a definite
and that's
disconnect.
basically what happened in Vegas. Now,
is it what happened though?
There wasn't like look. They were winning, so that's different.
Right.
But as far as the people not showing up and all, which is ultimately
right. That's ultimately
what did Craig Neal in, and that's ultimately what did Marvin in. Most of the fan base never wanted Marvin. Remember, he was the third choice.
Third choice.
They thought they had hired Mick Cronin from Cincinnati. He left to go back to Cincinnati to tell them and
what happened.
Pack up the family, and he did. Well, they're in the tournament.
Are they? Okay.
Never returned their calls. Then they hired Chris Beard, who left after like 3 weeks to go take the Texas Tech job. So then, all right, we got to have somebody.
We got to get.
We interviewed Marvin earlier, and again, I'm not knocking Marvin. I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
But he never excited the fan base. That they knew what was up. He was the third choice, and they never really got behind him.
I wonder what they paid him to step away.
I think he got a $500,000 buyout. I'm not sure on that, but I think that's what it was.
He should have gotten like Craig Neal's agent to help him. He at least got a cool meal.
Craig Neal doesn't have an agent.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Well, maybe that's why he got a cool meal.
Maybe.
That could be it. All right. So anyway, back to what we were talking about before we took the Cage Mines thing, and this kind of ties into it because of Marvin Menzies, and that's attendance being down in NCAA football. I know that we looked a little bit at the CBS Sports article and look at it, and it is down a little bit. I don't think it's a crazy amount, but then, and I heard the guys on 610 on the Sports Animal talking about it a little bit, and I've had this conversation with a couple of fans about New Mexico attendance being down, both football and basketball,
sure.
as it is. I say, and I maintain that I think it's a societal thing. I don't think it's just here in New Mexico. We just see it in New Mexico because it's a lot larger and a lot more important. Right. But I see society as a whole not going out anymore.
That is true. However, you can't apply that to what's going on with attendance here and just say, oh, it's because people aren't showing up anymore.
Sure.
Mountain West Conference football attendance last year was down 4.4%. Lobo attendance for football last season was down 21.7%.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Now let me ask you this, and I know we've discussed that. Is that named attendance?
That's announced attendance.
Announced attendance.
Well, that's tickets sold.
Not butts in the seats.
Right. Whether butts are in the seats or not, you sold the tickets. I mean, that's what you care about. But
Okay.
yeah. That's tickets sold. And look, and that's been a much larger decline than what you're talking about nationally with the decline in attendance. 16,587 people average attendance for a Lobo football game last season. The average attendance for an FBS college basketball game last season, and to be fair, these numbers are skewed a little.
Sure.
Because you're talking 80, 90,000 for those SEC schools and all that. But the average attendance for an FBS game, well, all 129,
right?
yeah, football, all 129 FBS teams, average attendance was 41,856. Now, that's not realistic for the Lobos. But,
right.
But in a perfect world, there's no reason you can't get 25, 30,000
I would
fans a
think
game.
so. Well, at least get the 16,000.
And again, since you brought it up, the attendance drop for New Mexico, it wasn't just from 2017 to 2018. I mean, you can take this thing back. Again, 16,587 last year, a 21.7% decrease from 2017 when it was 21,195. 2016 was 20,277, and 2015 was 23,528.
So is it just Bob Davie?
I don't think it's just. I think it's just apathy for the program in general.
Okay, fair. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like I said,
now look,
year,
Bob Davie's been the head coach of back-to-back 3 and 9 seasons, so
right.
Yeah, certainly that.
But I mean,
I'm
I'm trying to go back and think. Of course, I had a different mindset then. 1 and 11, 1 and 11, 1 and 11. People still went. Did they still go to games?
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like the stadium was a little bit more fuller then, even now. I mean,
they sold more tickets then.
They did sell more
Yeah.
tickets, but I'm saying were there more? I mean, okay, and then we have to look at it at New Mexico also 2 ways. You have pre-Lobo basketball season started, and once Lobo basketball season starts, I don't care what year it is, that always slashes the number. But I'm trying to think at the start of the season, even in years gone by, when attendance or apathy has been this bad to start the season.
Yeah.
I mean, because we talked about it. I mean, they came off a bowl victory, and you would think, okay, attendance is going to go up. You're going to get more people. No, it went down.
Yeah. Now, to be fair with last year's, you didn't have that home game with New Mexico State.
That's
You'll
true.
have that this year. So my guess is you'll actually see attendance bump up a little this year, regardless of how the Lobos do on the field, just because you will have that Aggie game, and you will get somewhere close to 30,000.
Does Air Force come to town this year? I'm trying to think.
Yes.
I can't remember. That helps because Air Force always travels pretty well.
Sure.
And plus with the base, a lot of cadets come in, or a lot of Air Force guys, airmen come in. So that also helps with attendance. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're 100% right. Attendance is down for everything, whether it's sporting events, concerts, or whatever. But to just say, oh, that's the problem here is so not accurate, because it is down so much more here than it is at other places around the country. The bigger issue is, and we can talk all day about attendance is down and why, the bigger issue is how do you fix it? How do you get butts in the seats?
And see, I don't know, because I mean, attendance is down in the pit too. Well, it was up this year compared to
They were still top. You're right, it was down, but they were still top 30 in attendance. I believe they were one of 3 non-power conference teams in the top 30, and, and they were the only one with a losing record. So yeah, attendance was down, but it's still not where they want it to be. But
I think that's where the societal thing comes in. Once again, the refurbishing. How long has it been since they refurbished the pit? It's been how many years now?
Was that 2010, 2011, something like that?
Because Alfred was still here, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, it was. Yeah, I can't. It's been a while. It's been almost a decade. And good or bad refurbishing? Good or bad?
Oh, so it's
I mean,
fine.
what do you think? Attendance has dropped. Obviously, part of that is
attendance didn't drop because they refurbished the pit, though.
Well, I mean, they did take seats out, and the seats that were there, there was more seats in the mezzanine that people actually paid for than the luxury boxes.
Well, okay, yeah.
And then the other seats.
Once you take out 3,000 seats, you're not going to draw as many people.
Right.
From that standpoint,
well,
yes.
and then the other part is the seats went up. But that's just those ones. How many of those seats really sold out? The ones in the end zones of the pit. What do they call them?
But back in the day or now?
No, well, even it doesn't matter when. You could tell whenever. I mean, half the time those seats were unempty, more than half. The expensive ones, what are they, $100 a seat to sit up in the mezzanine on those black seats?
Oh, I have no idea.
Not in the box. You know what I'm talking about, the ones in the end zone. I'm just saying that was part of it. Obviously, no NCAA tournaments. Those haven't come.
Sure, but that's a separate issue. Does not hosting NCAA tournament games, does that keep people from coming out to a Wednesday night Lobo Fresno State game?
No, I mean, I agree, but I guess I'm looking at the entire, when I say the refurbishing, as good or bad. Not just attendance here, but like other events. I don't think there are any other events.
Anytime you make your building nicer, that's a good thing. The problem with the refurbishing is what we were told.
What we were sold.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. What we were sold was not what we got.
Right.
All right. This is how we keep hosting NCAA tournament games. We can bring in more concerts. We can host all these outside events. Outside of the Ty Murray PBR Invitational and graduations, what events do they have there that aren't basketball? And I know you got the high school tournaments, but the last concert I remember there was George Strait, and hell, that was probably 2011, 2012.
Yeah, no, I mean, the last concert I attended in the pit was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication. I mean,
and that would have been well before the
that was before the refurbishing. But okay, and then you mentioned it.
You're not hosting NCAA tournaments because they can't fit the floor in.
Right, but you mentioned something else too. You said that everything's down attendance-wise.
Sure.
How many big? I mean, does anyone do stadium tours anymore?
I went to Garth Brooks Saturday night. They
Where
had in Phoenix, and they had 75,000 people there.
And that
it
was in
sold
the stadium?
out. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was at the State Farm Stadium.
And you're right, there are a few, but I mean, when I was younger, I mean.
But we're not talking about a stadium. We're talking about
or even arena tours.
A 15,000 seat arena.
I mean, most concert venues now here, they're going to either.
I'm going to back-to-back sold-out nights for Eric Church in Denver at the Pepsi Center.
Who is that?
Country artist. Dude that sold out back-to-back nights. So yeah,
do you like country music?
The wife does. I like my wife.
Okay.
I love her actually.
I totally respect that. My girlfriend likes the country music too, but
I like Eric Church.
But she's a girlfriend, so I don't sit there and say, okay, I got to go.
Right, but that's the point. Yes, there are plenty of concerts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking you because I haven't really gone to a concert in a long time.
You can't hang a lighting grid.
Right. No,
for any concert you do, you have to have the lighting grid has to be off the floor. So you've got to have support beams and
WWE's
posts, which blocks viewing for
and WWE's announced another date here, but they're once again at Santa Ana, right?
I don't know the last time they haven't been at Santa Ana.
Yeah.
At least the last.
And it's the
2 or
same
3
reason
years.
they can't hang the Thunderdome and all this other stuff up there.
Right.
I mean, boxing, MMA, they did have the one thing there. MMA a few years back.
No, that was at
Tingley. Yeah.
No,
I did have an event at the pit one time though.
But it's the same thing. It's you can't hang a lighting grid.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, do we have to really start thinking about maybe blowing the roof off the pit or raising it or doing something? I don't know if there's money to do something like that.
You partner with the city on a downtown arena. Which, quite honestly, and this will probably get me some hate, they probably should have done that instead of the pit refurb. Now, I also get the flip side of it, the history of the pit. You don't just walk away from that. That's one of the most historic buildings in college athletics. But if you're talking about multi-purpose, saving money, having other events.
I will say this, though, about the pit, and this is living here my whole life. The video of Jim Valvano running across the pit, it gets longer and longer.
Honest to God, dude. At least twice a basketball season, and it's usually the non-conference team because the conference teams know. And it's a coach or a player from one of the opposing teams will stop by and ask either me or somebody else who's there early, "Hey, which end of the court was it?" And the first time we're like, "Huh? What are you talking about? Which end of the court was it?"
Oh yeah.
Huh? They're like, "Valvano, NC State, Lorenzo Charles, the dunk." Oh, I don't know. It was right there. And yeah, I mean, you're right. That's certainly the pit's known for that. It's hard to walk away from a venue like that. If you're talking being practical, maybe. It might be that time.
Well, we didn't fix everything, but you're right.
I don't think we fixed anything.
Yeah.
But we sure talked a lot.
But we sure talked a lot, and my voice feels good. Once again, I'm sure Michael will be here next week. I'm taking the week off. I'll be in Las Vegas. Should I put a quarter in a slot machine for you?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine. Oh, you blackjack, right?
I'm a blackjack man. Yeah.
You're a blackjack man. Yeah, I'm not so much of that. But for Michael Carlisle, for Alden, and for Micah, it's Leroy Lucero, Red Menace TV. We'll see you in a couple weeks. God bless y'all.